Hey guys, Torch here. Long time since I made a video, and I just remembered why. I keep started working on something and forget to film it. And this is what I did this time. This is a 2015 Toyota Camry, and the air compressor went out for the air conditioning. So, long story short, air stopped blowing. I thought it was no big deal. It probably just needed a recharge. Dropped it off at the local auto shop. They checked it out and said, no, your compressor is shot. And they're very reputable. I trust them. So the only problem is they their policy there is they only use OEM parts. So they wanted to order a new compressor from Toyota, which costed $1,000. And then they wanted another 700 to for the labor. So I said, no way. Came home, did some research, figured out I can do this. Ordered a compressor. Compressor was $350. And anyway, so I got it all apart. But I'll tell you how I did it, because it's actually, I mean, I was looking at this thing and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a nightmare. It's really not. It's pretty easy. First thing you want to do is go underneath the car and take off that shield that goes all the way across. It's just a plastic splash pan or whatever you want to call it. And all it is it's 10 millimeter bolts. You take them all out and the thing falls right off like nothing. And it's two pieces. It's laying right there. And then you got to drain your radiator. Open up this little valve here. Drain it all out. Take off your radiator cap. Let it all drain out into a bucket. And then I moved the bucket over by that hose and drained the lower hose. And after that, I couldn't get the radiator out without taking off this cross piece here with the where the hood latch mounts onto that, and it's the horns. This was real easy though too. It was one bolt behind the hood latch and then two on each end. Unplug the horns and the thing comes right out. And again, those were all 10 millimeter. But to get to this, almost forgot. Then there was this piece that goes across the whole top of the car like that. And the same thing, it's all push button. You just push those buttons down and then you pry up the whole thing with a screwdriver. I didn't even have to, I only had to do that on one. Once I pushed the button down, they just kind of let go and came right up. And just put a little pressure underneath there. So that's how I did that. This piece for the air cleaner had to come off. This thing, it just hooks onto there, and there was two bolts on that. Piece of cake. Same thing with the reservoir. That was just sitting up on here. Two bolts come right out. Everything is 10 millimeter so far. So they made it real easy. And then I went to evacuate the coolant and found out I didn't have to. The guy at the shop took it all out, I guess. So, or it finally went out through the compressor, I don't know. But, so, sorry, I can't show you how to do that, but, it's not that complicated. I'm sure there's videos on YouTube. Just, You just hook a hose onto your high pressure line, and they got a separate tank, and you just let it drain out into there. And you know, I'll let somebody else explain that, but luckily I didn't have to do that because it's a mess and ugh, whatever. Plus you got to be environmentally safe about it. So, but anyway, here's my old one, and here's my new one, and it's got all the plugs are on it, and the sensor, Oh, the other thing I found out too is a way to test these. A lot of times this sensor right here, it goes bad. And I found another video on YouTube that if that sensor goes bad, you can actually bypass it by just putting a magnet on it. Like one of these dealios. You just go and you put it right on there, and it'll change the voltage just enough to kick it on. So then you know if it's this sensor or if it's the compressor. So I tried that, and of course it didn't work. My compressor didn't kick on, and the guy already told me it was shot anyway. So, and like I said, it was a reputable shop. I trust them. I just don't like the part that they only use OEM parts instead of aftermarket, and that compressor was $1,000. I mean, that's insane. I mean, I'm at a $1,700 job here, and I mean, I've done all this in like 2 hours. I'm ready to put the new compressor on, which is 4 bolts, and those are right here, and they were, what does that say, 12 millimeter for all 4 of them. So all you really need is 10 millimeter and a 12 millimeter to get those off. And the belt tensioner right here was a 14 millimeter, and that came off real easy. I just hooked it on there and slipped the belt off, and no problem. So anyway, I just want to do a quick video on this in case anybody's got a 2015 Toyota Camry, and give you some encouragement that this is really not a hard job. I was hoping to do it without taking the radiator out, but there's just no room. And I was hoping to do it with just taking the fans out, but you can't get the fan. If you could get the fans out, it would work, but this stupid thing right here, it's in the way. There's no way you can, there's not enough room to pull this forward or back, I mean, and then wiggle these things out. So you pretty much have to take the radiator and the fans out in one piece. And again, those were all 10 millimeter bolts. There was a couple up here, and there was a couple on the bottom. And then on the condenser itself, the condenser was bolted to it, to the radiator. So there's 2 on top, 10 millimeter, and 2 on the bottom, 10 millimeter. And you just leave the condenser in here because you don't want to be disconnecting that line if you don't have to, because yeah, that's a whole nother fun thing. Try to avoid disconnecting lines if you don't have to, but I mean, obviously you got to take these off, so just make sure your system is empty. So I'm really glad that guy drained it out, because I know it was full, because I had tried to fill it myself, and when I stuck the gauge on it, it said it was already full, so I didn't even put any in it. So I knew it was full when I brought it in the shop. So he must have sucked it all out and sucked it back in or whatever, and then figured out it was the compressor, and probably thought I was going to be coming back to get this done, so he sucked it all out again, thinking he'd save himself some time probably when I brought it back. But anyway, I'm glad he did, because now I don't have to do it. So anyway, alright, I'm going to start putting this back together, and I'm telling you guys, this really is nothing, man. You can probably do this 5-6 hours, I mean tops. Like I said, I already got about 2 into it, and it's probably, now that I know how it all came apart, I'll probably be able to get it back together in an hour. But I would say, if you're a little leery, take your time, maybe 5-6 hours. Maybe you're more mechanically inclined like me, and you can get it done in about 3. It's really easy though. It's really not that bad. All right, I'll do some more footage here and as I go. All right, and then I just bolted the compressor back in with those 4 bolts and plugged the wires in. There is one bolt right down here that holds the wiring harness on, and there's a little clip right here that I just pinched on the back side with a pair of pliers and slid it out. And I was wrong on the tensioner size. It's a 14, not a 12. So anyways, I'm going to go about putting all this radiator and stuff back in. And another tip real quick before I put the radiator back in. Good idea. See all that stuff in there? Good idea to just blow this out. Just get it right from the back side of the blowgun and clean all that stuff out of there. I'm going to do the same thing on the condenser. Looks like it's got a couple of dead bugs and spots. So good idea to do that while you got it out. And there I go again. This is so easy. I just kept going and just got it done. It's a piece of cake. Don't be afraid to do this job. And like I said, it's all 10mm bolts. I just got to put this on, but I'm going to wait until I charge the system, because I got to wait for, I ordered all this stuff to do that. The compressor and not the compressor, the vacuum pump and the gauges and all that. So I'll do that on the next video. I'll try to be more detailed on there. I'm sorry about this, but you saw it all apart and you saw it back together. So, but the apart one is probably the best for you to see. I mean, but man, this really was simple. Don't be afraid to just start taking it apart. Like I said, just start with those bottom covers, drain your radiator, and then just start working on taking the radiator out, and like I said, this cover just pops off with these push buttons, and once you get the radiator out of the way, it's a piece of cake. So I hope this helps somebody. I wish I could have been a little more detailed on it, but I don't have a camera, man, so that kind of sucks. Plus, I don't want to make super long videos. Nobody will click on them. Anyways, I hope this helps somebody out there. At least maybe you can pick up the socket sizes or something. All right. Peace out.